It's not always easy to hear the voice from within. Sometimes it's just a vague feeling, something in between unclear and undefined, as if something is shifting underneath but you can't quite see it yet. Everyone around you stays the same, and yet you feel something in you is changing. And this week, if you are a Sagittarius, that feeling will become even clearer. From June 2nd to 8th, a quiet yet powerful shift will begin to unfold within you, not through a specific event, and not because someone else triggers it, but through your intuition. The very thing you often ignore is now becoming the loudest voice inside. You'll begin to sense that something is forming. It's not quite a plan, nor is it exactly a dream, but it's clear enough for you to know you can't turn away. This feeling doesn't come from your mind. It comes from somewhere deep, somewhere you've neglected while trying to adapt to the world outside. This week, the moon will pass through Cancer and then move into Leo. This combination brings out two opposing emotional energies, one rooted in the need for safety and emotional nurturing, and the other driven by the desire to express oneself fully without judgment. And right in the middle of those extremes, you will find yourself faced with a choice. Keep compromising or start living true to yourself. You may sense something awakening inside, a desire that feels personal and real, yet still too fragile to name. It's not quite a goal nor a clear plan. It's more like a quiet calling that keeps returning every time you're alone. And this time you can't push it away like you used to. Jupiter, your ruling planet, is currently moving through Cancer, the sign of deep emotions, home, and intimate bonds. This suggests that what you're truly seeking now isn't status, achievement, or recognition from others. It's the feeling of being in the right place, playing the right role, inhabiting your true self, without needing to keep up a facade anymore. The universe isn't forcing you to act hastily, but it is gently nudging you toward a more soul-aligned choice. A choice that only you can judge as right or wrong, because it doesn't come from logic, it comes from a deeper place within, one you may have neglected while trying to live up to others' expectations. When you begin to allow yourself to live by feeling, you'll notice something pulling you toward something undefined. It has no name, and it's not exactly a goal, but it carries a strange pull that you can't seem to shake off. The more you try to make sense of it logically, the more tangled you become. But the more you allow yourself to feel, the more you want to get closer. That's the energy of Neptune influencing you this week. A different kind of force, quiet, unclear, but powerful at a deep level. It evokes a sense of mystery, like you're standing before a half-closed door, and even though no one's asking you to, you still want to peek inside. What's special about this feeling is it doesn't come from a calculating mind. It arises from a part deep inside you, a place you rarely pay attention to. The things you once thought were irrational are starting to make sense in their own way, and you begin to notice your shift isn't triggered by the outside. It's coming from within. This exploration isn't about proving anything. It's about fulfilling an inner longing to live more deeply with yourself. You, as a Sagittarius, aren't chasing after fleeting inspiration. You're stepping into a new journey where the mind takes a step back and your senses take the lead. You're beginning to feel something more clearly now, something that once seemed vague. There's a shift happening inside you. No one's forcing you. It's not because life has gotten too hard. It's simply because you no longer feel like you belong on the same old path. This week, planetary movements are lighting up your third house, governing your mindset, words, and daily decisions. What you're thinking about isn't just some far-off dream anymore. It's something more specific. Should I stay in this job? Should I hold on to that relationship? Should I keep pretending to be someone I no longer am? Each of these questions may seem small, but they're actually gateways to something bigger. And if you've gone far enough on an old road, faced enough resistance and given it your all, then maybe, just maybe, you're ready to choose differently. Not based on what you should or must do, but on what you genuinely want to live now. When you start feeling more at ease with yourself, that's also when someone else begins to show up. Not dramatically, not with any pursuit, just someone appearing at the right time, stirring something slightly different inside you. You're not sure if it's affection or empathy, but one thing's clear: you find yourself caring. They could be someone entirely new, or someone familiar who's been around but never quite caught your attention in this way. Whoever it is, the feeling this time is different. Not the kind of explosive emotion, but a steady, warm vibration. Just enough to make you start thinking. Venus is currently moving through your 9th house, the house of life, philosophy, and matters greater than the everyday. So if someone makes you reflect more deeply, or if a conversation with them brings you closer to yourself, it's not random. This isn't a passing crush. It's the kind of encounter that makes you want to pause and understand more. And when you find yourself thinking further about a relationship, not just whether you should fall in love, but whether this might be someone to walk with in your next life chapter, then you're connecting at a different level. No labels needed, just recognizing that your view on connection is shifting is already enough. As things begin to settle again, you start to see more clearly the direction you've been choosing. No more rushing, no more trying to keep up with someone else, just quietly turning inward and asking yourself, do I still want to continue down this path? And the answer might surprise you. You'll find yourself facing a very clear choice. It might be about work, a relationship, or simply how you want to live each day. There's no drama, but you know. If you choose differently, everything that follows will change too, and you're seriously considering that possibility. The old path helped you grow. It wasn't wrong, and it wasn't bad. It's just reached the point where it can stand on its own. It no longer needs you to keep it going. And when you're willing to let go, you'll see there's more room to welcome something new. Starting again won't necessarily feel easy. It's both exciting and scary, but there's a part of you, the part you've never really let speak, that's feeling eager, and sometimes that alone is reason enough to begin. Once you've chosen to take a new direction, you'll quickly realize something important. Inspiration alone isn't enough. You need a base. You need a plan. You need concrete steps, even if they're small. And that might feel unfamiliar for you, a Sagittarius who's used to living on instinct and passion. But from this point forward, everything you want to build must be grounded. Whether it's career, love, or personal growth, each one requires your hands on the details. There's no more room for just trying it out. Everything you start now must be nurtured consistently and taken seriously. And it's that very consistency that creates real results. Saturn is teaching you the lessons of discipline and endurance. Not glamorous, not easy to swallow, but very real. You'll see the behind the scenes of what you want isn't as shiny as imagined. It's tedious, messy, uninspiring. But it's also where you learn to take full responsibility for your choices. There will be moments you'll want to quit halfway through because it feels time-consuming, draining, and not as exciting as it was at the start. But if you get through that beginning phase, you'll enter a new realm, one where you're no longer just dreaming about what you want, but actually creating it. To start a new journey, sometimes you don't need to add more, just to let go. Let go of old beliefs. Let go of those habitual phrases that make you hesitate. And most importantly, let go of how you've been seeing yourself, as if you've never been enough. This week, there are 3 mental chains you'll need to break if you want to move forward. The first is unresolved disappointment. You tried doing something 3 times, and all 3 didn't go your way. So when the 4th opportunity gets close, You hesitate. You assume you already know how it'll end. But that's how you end up missing a new gift, because you're looking at it through old eyes. Like a fourth cup after a set of 3 that let you down. You assume it'll be the same, but you won't know it's different unless you try again. The second is a belief that seems logical. There's only one way to make this work. When that method stops working, you quickly conclude then it's over. But the truth is, you're locking yourself into a mental cage of your own making. The door is always open. You just have to be brave enough to step through it again. And finally, the most relatable, but also most persistent fear. The fear of being judged. Fear of people saying you're foolish, naive, repeating the same mistake. But here's the thing. All those who ever did something remarkable were called that in the beginning. No one becomes great by staying still, waiting to be understood. Once you've steadied your emotions and stepped back enough to think clearly, the universe begins to offer a deeper lesson. Every action now needs an anchor. It's not about doing more, and it's not about waiting around either. This is a phase where you must strike a balance between doing and adjusting. The current opposition between Saturn in your 4th house, home, roots, internal foundation, and a strong lineup in your 10th house, career, status, public image, creates the perfect pressure point. You're being asked, what are you pushing so hard to prove? And is it even necessary anymore? There's no easy answer, but both Mars and Mercury are also pushing you to pay closer attention to how you speak, out loud and to yourself. Your words are especially potent right now. Even a passing comment or casual thought can start to take shape in the real world. You're rebuilding, not just through action, but through the way you speak, the choices you make, and how quickly you adjust when things feel off. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be honest. And when you live that truth, the doors that once seemed sealed may start to open, quietly but surely. When you've passed through emotional fog and begun to see more clearly, one question naturally rises. What kind of life am I actually building? No more going through the motions, no more working just to survive or spending just to feel okay. You're starting to think differently about money, work, and your true value. Jupiter is now transitioning into your 8th house, a zone tied to finance, long-term resources, and personal power. This isn't about chasing quick wins anymore. It's about knowing how to keep what matters, where to invest your energy, and how to build something that actually lasts. You're entering a rebuild phase, and this time, it's happening at the root level. You might not see a dramatic income shift right away, but you will start to notice that you're cutting out waste, emotionally and financially. You're no longer spending just to soothe or working just to get by. You're putting time and energy into what truly supports your longer vision. And when you do that, your flow of money and opportunity will begin to follow suit. The most important thing right now isn't how much you earn. It's whether you're in control of your own flow. Whether you're creating a foundation so solid that you no longer rely on anyone else to hold it up. You're building something from the ground up, and only you get to decide how high, how wide, and how lasting it becomes. After a stretch of constantly running between things you must handle, must do, must hold, you begin to slow down, not because you're tired, but because you realize there's no longer a reason to keep struggling like before. The things that used to confuse and overwhelm you now feel like they belong to the past, and the things ahead still haven't quite revealed themselves. Yet in that in-between stillness, something quiet begins to unfold. You are healing. No more denying your real emotions, no more blaming circumstances. You begin to look inward more often without letting self-judgment drown out the truth. And in that moment, you start asking the most important questions. What do I truly need? Do I still want that? If no one else were involved, how would I live in a way that's true to me? These questions may sound simple, but they are exactly where transformation begins. Not the kind driven by force, but the kind born from realization. And when realization is deep enough, change comes, gently yet decisively. When you start living in alignment with yourself, the good things start finding their way to you. You don't need to name them out loud. You don't need to plan to receive them. Just release what no longer fits, and the space left behind will naturally be filled with something better. That's when the small gifts begin to appear, quietly yet unmistakably. You might receive an unexpected amount of money from a project you'd abandoned, from someone who had once promised and gone silent, or from a source you never even thought of. You might receive recognition, not through loud praise, but through the subtle shift in how someone who once doubted you now treats you. And that feeling of being seen, of being trusted, is worth more than money. There's also a chance that a new emotional connection begins to spark, not loud, not full of grand promises, but one that makes you want to stay, want to care, want to open your heart just a little more. A kind of affection that doesn't make your heart race, but makes you feel calm. And that, after all you've been through, may just be the most precious gift of all. There are things you'll only realize when you look back, that the future doesn't just arrive on its own. It's contained within the way you choose to live today, not in grand gestures, but in the smallest of actions, repeated each day. When you dare to take a step, the path begins to open. When you dare to believe, the universe shifts its resources to lift you, each in its own way. And when you dare to stop engaging with what no longer fits, you make room for something better to move closer. Every shift begins with you, no one else. Don't seek approval from those who haven't even figured themselves out. They don't know what you've had to walk through. They won't fully understand why you've chosen what you're doing now. As long as you know you're not turning your back on yourself, that is enough. Even if you're tired, don't stop just because you're scared. Even if you're uncertain, don't stay silent if your heart wants to speak. Because those who listen to themselves, sooner or later, will meet exactly what's meant for them, in their work and in the relationships that matter most. Dear Sagittarius, this week isn't asking you to do anything grand. It's simply opening a new chapter, quietly, gently. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need permission. It only needs you to recognize that something within you has shifted and to choose what now feels more aligned. You don't have to wait until everything is clear, complete, or perfect. The truth is, no one is ever truly ready for a new journey until they begin. And you're more ready than you think. Just one step, and everything will start to make sense in its own way. If you've listened this far and feel something softly tapped within, something quietly stirred, leave a dot, a small symbol, or a line of emotion below. Not as a reply to this video, but as a reply to yourself that yes, you heard it, and yes, you're ready to move forward. Just follow, so whenever a new true story comes, you won't miss what you were meant to hear.